Alrighty folks, want to welcome you back to another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. This one is a screen capture. This one is of the firewall itself. There are a lot of variables when you come into the firewall, and one of the things that you have to do when you first configure a firewall or some other devices where they don't have an IP or does not give out the DNS is you have to set in your IP address manually. So you have to put in an IP address that's on the same network as the device you're connecting to. That can be a little challenging to find. You have to do your homework, do your research to find out what the default IP address is. Sometimes there's software you can run to figure it out, but this one I figured it out by the manuals. It was this IP, how to do it, how to do a factory reset, a lot of other factors before I got to this training. So I wanted to show this point because this is really one of the points you can get stuck at that really a lot of people don't talk about, is giving yourself an IP address so that you can communicate to the device, because now you have an IP and you don't have to have that device hand you an IP. You have the IP to contact it and talk to it. So that's a way to get around where you don't have a DHCP, is you give yourself an IP address. So once you do all that, you can actually connect to the device. And then it'll ask you your passwords. That's all the factory reset passwords. This actually tells you a lot of information in here. As you can see, there's a lot of settings that you can go through and change. Let's just start at the bottom. You have logs, your WAN, what ports, what interfaces. Some actually have, if you get into bigger ones, have multiple ports and multiple things you can do. So like this one only has one available. Sometimes you can do other things in these options. Depending on the firewall you actually have will give you a lot more options. This one has a lot of things you can choose from. Anti-Spyware. So what odds are you probably want to accept and have all of these things running, because these are all extra features that you can have that are available to you. Gateway antivirus. So this way it screens it before it actually gets to your computer. Now it won't catch everything. If you open something in email, you open up a link or somewhere where you shouldn't have, of course you need to have these things in your computer to take care of your computer. Here you have users. This is really one of the interesting things about firewalls, is you can actually have multiple users with multiple permissions. So you can have permissions for people that pull reports, check who's logged in, who's doing what, but they can't go in and change settings, kind of like computer users. So I wanted to show some of these little things that there are. Depending on what kind of device you have, they can vary. Some things, there are a lot of options you can get into. So I wanted to show a difference between an actual firewall and a basic device that has firewall features. I call them features because it's not an actual true firewall. Now there are devices that are out there that are actually routers with a lot of true firewall features. You can go in and do port scanning, you can do port blocking, you can do a lot of things really similar to this. There's VPN settings. Ooh, I didn't like that setting. Let's check what's going on. Well, let's go to another window and see if that clears it. Didn't like that window. Whew. All kinds of different things. let's see, junk store upgrade needed. In here, more settings, firewall settings, what you enable, stealth mode, fixed protections. Here is your ports, what your ports are allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. This is your firewall. This would be similar to what you have in your computer, but this would actually stop access to getting to your computer. So you got to be careful on some of these settings, because if you set something a certain way, you can actually affect what your computer's doing, because you can't actually get the traffic because this parts are blocking it, are telling it, nope, you can't send this package through. All your VPN settings, your WAN settings, your LAN settings. You realize, you see how these are different. When you look at the back, you'll see you have a LAN port, VPN, virtual private network, your WAN. You'll have to look to see how many you have of each. It's not as simple to say you have just one or two of these. You might have 4 or 5 of each, depending on what the device you have. More settings, network settings, what your LAN actually is, what your IP is, what your subnet is, if it's static, fixed, what your speed is. This is an older model, so it's not a gigabit. So I wanted to show you your speeds. All of this stuff is in here. You can actually put zones, zone things. Just want to show you all the differences, because it is quite a bit different than other devices. Admin passwords, time, all these things that you can do. Then you have dashboards. This actually tells you about what the users are doing, what's going on, your connections. Packets. So I know this will be a nice little short video, but there's not too much detail I can go into because every situation would be different. It's hard for me to go in there and say, go ahead and set this up for your mail, set this up for this, set this up for that, because it's based on what you are actually doing and how you get your mail. Are you using Gmail, Yahoo Mail? Are you using STP for mail? Are you using a mail server? Are you on the cloud? A lot of cloud-based things now. So you can actually restrict a lot of things that have to do with the physical mail server, because now you're on a cloud server. So this is where you would go to change these things. Maybe you already have a firewall put in and you're contemplating making changes, changing to something else, to cloud service, to, you know, simple email like a Yahoo email instead of paying for an email. You know, there's lots of different things you can do. Maybe web hosting email, and changing that to like a Yahoo, a Gmail, instead of through your GoDaddy account or whoever else you're paying for to host your internet or for your domain name. So there's a lot of variables that come into play. This is why I kind of wanted to show some of these firewall settings. I didn't go into too much detail, but I wanted to actually show you the difference between the actual firewall and kind of like what the Wi-Fi router is like. There is quite a bit of difference. So this is really why I wanted to show this factor, so that you can know what you can do. You can actually block, it should be, usually you can do like ports. There it is. Let's see, let's add a rule. So in here you have from zone, all zones, all. So you have from your public zone, your trusted zone, your wireless zone. So you can set things up so that, let's say, accounting's in a trusted zone. Accounting can actually have more permissions and allowed to do more things than your wireless zone. Someone that has a laptop that's using their email to use it for email, to respond. Maybe they're basically a customer service rep that calls in, that you call in and you speak to, or troubleshooting, or someone of that sort, can actually be on a different zone or a different setting than your accounting people. So they have different permissions, different restrictions. All through here, you can do this. So that way it cuts down on internet traffic. Maybe accounting, you don't want to have internet access at all. Maybe you want to secure those computers where they don't have access to a lot of things, where also you will have your person who answers your phones, your call center, that may need to have that access. Maybe they need to get on there and get onto Google Maps and Google Map the customer's location by address to know exactly where they're at. Maybe you're having service problems. Maybe there's other issues. So these are features that you got to be careful with when you deal with the firewall. Because if you hit all, that's going to be everybody. That's everything. So I wanted to point out just some of those little features that you have where you can really break those down. You can do that in the computer level too, but then you're doing it per computer, every computer, where this you can actually group them by who's on the internet. You really need to do both, because not everybody is on the internet trying to access internet related things. If they're accessing servers and other things, this is stuff you need to block on their local ends too, and on the server ends, and any other devices that might have some of these things, so that there's no way to get around it and someone can get into files and things that they shouldn't be getting into. So I wanted to go through this because this is really the key security thing. This isn't something I can just simply go, oh yeah, this is blah blah blah, and go through it and tell you this is the way it needs to be set. Because actually every environment will be different. There are pretty much IT technicians, security trained people in companies that will actually come in and check your network, monitor your network, and tell you what is best for your network and configure them. You're going to pay a lot of money for that, but you should at least know the basics of what a firewall actually is, how it looks, some of the security settings to see what is actually in there. That is kind of an important factor to knowing what is there. So I wanted to show this so that everybody's aware of what there is out there, how this is done, why this would be done. So that's the factors that we have, is that you can go through and do a lot of this. You can go through, there's a wizard that will walk you through it, that will talk you through it pretty much. It'll say, please reset your password, please reset your username. How are you connected to the internet? But fixed IP, static IP, TCP/IP, you know, all the different options. It'll go through them, and you can go through and configure them that way through the wizard. You don't necessarily have to go through this way and choose like, oh, I need to add this, I need to reconfigure that, and do all of this stuff. But you can. Let's say you've already done all of that and you just need to add a user. Maybe you have a new IT guy, a whole new IT department, you know, some kind of troubleshooting, some kind of front desk customer service person that is other than your IT. You can actually add that in here, so that if there's an issue that they can actually go in and check some of these logs, or maybe even give them rights to change some of this. So I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Just keep it short so that everybody's aware of what this actually is, what settings you actually have. And the key part about configuring that IP address so you can actually access the device. Because I know those are things nobody really talks about. That's really what I wanted to show on this screen capture. I've already shown you the device, what this firewall actually looks like. It's an older device. Showed you the ports, showed you all of that on a previous video. So go ahead and check that one out, because that goes along with this video. These two are a pair. You might not need to know that information. You might be more interested in actually the software itself and what it looks like, how you log in, how you even configure the IP to get there. Again, that goes back into the IP information that I had earlier. That was a different video about how to see your IP and all of those things. So wanted to touch base on that because that's also important. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I want to say thanks for everybody watching another video from EH Computers Tips and Reviews. Make sure you hit the bell and subscribe. Thank you.